Is war coming to America? If not, why is the Pentagon having a classified meeting with top arms makers? Take a look at what I'm talking about here, and I found this on usnews.com. Pentagon asked top 8 weapons makers to meet on Ukraine, sources reveal. Now, the article goes on to state this, that the Pentagon will host leaders from the top 8 U.S. weapons manufacturers on Wednesday to discuss the industry's capacity to meet Ukraine's weapons needs if the war with Russia lasts years. 2 people familiar with the meeting said on Tuesday. It expands. Demand for weapons has shot up after Russia's invasion on February 24th spurred U.S. and allied weapons transfers to Ukraine. Resupplying as well as planning for a longer war is expected to be discussed at the meeting, the sources told Reuters on condition of anonymity. The Pentagon's Office of Acquisition and Sustainment, the weapons buyer for the U.S. Department of Defense, will host the 90-minute meeting, and Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks was expected to attend, one of the people stated. It goes on. The Pentagon's Defense Secretary Cooperation Administration is having weekly meetings of its European crisis management team to review specific requests related to Ukraine to speed up U.S. government approval for sales and transfer of arms produced by American defense contractors. The Pentagon has reestablished a team to respond to the increased demand. Now, what this article is clearly stating is this. It's the Pentagon is having a classified meeting with 8 of our leading weapons makers here in the United States of America, which also include Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, 2 of the biggest ones here in the United States of America. Now, that said, the reason being given that they are having this particular meeting is to meet Ukraine's weapons needs in the event that the war between them and Russia lasts longer than 2 years. That is the reason being given. Now, not that I state, now I do believe that's one of the reasons that they are obviously having this meeting. This is clearly portrayed in this article here, and this is on foxnews.com. Biden administration authorizes an additional $800 million in weapons security assistance to Ukraine. Obviously, we are giving money to Ukraine for weapons, and we have to know exactly what's being involved and what they're building. But that stated, I believe there also could be another reason for the meeting that's not being stated, and that could be, and this is just my opinion, that they are planning on building military equipment up here in the United States of America in the event that we end up in war, a war with Russia, or God forbid, even World War III. Now, I'm just simply asking the question here. I am not stating that as a fact, but I think it's a good question to be asked, especially in the light of this article that I found on NBC News, where they actually admit that they're using propaganda, or in their terms, they call it information warfare, that they're saying some of the information isn't necessarily rock solid that's being published here in the United States of America. But in my opinion, when you're publishing not rock solid evidence, why are you doing it? What's the true motive? And could that spark war between our countries? Really something to think about. Take a look here. This one is literally going to drop your jaw to the floor, but this is NBC News. Not my words, NBC News. In a break with the past, the U.S. is using intel to fight an information war with Russia, even when the intel is not rock solid. Yes, you heard that right. It doesn't have to be solid intelligence. One U.S. official said it's more important to get out ahead of the Russians, and Putin specifically, before they do something. Now, obviously, this article goes on to say this is a good thing that this information that isn't so solid is being used because we're getting ahead of Putin. Now, whether you agree or disagree with the reasoning behind that, one still has to ask the question, could this lead us into war? But here, it goes on to give some examples of this. And here it is. President Joe Biden, it was an attention-grabbing assertion that made headlines around the world. U.S. officials said they had indications suggesting Russia might be preparing to use chemical agents in Ukraine. Well, Joe Biden later said it publicly, but 3 U.S. officials told NBC News this week there is no evidence Russia has brought any chemical weapons near Ukraine. They said U.S. released the information to deter Russia from using the banned munitions. It's one of a string of examples. The Biden administration breaking with recent precedents by deploying declassified intelligence as part of an information war against Russia. The administration has done so when the intelligence wasn't rock solid, officials said, to keep Russia, Vladimir Putin off balance. Now, we all know that Putin, for a while, has used the propaganda and information to his, or basically playing the same game Russia has been for a while. So I guess this is the administration's way of hitting back, but it's still, you still have to think about what's being fed to the American people. And here we have more here. In another decision, this is another example of what the U.S. has done. U.S. officials said one reason not to provide Ukraine with MiG fighter jets is that intelligence showed Russia would view the move as escalatory. Now, that was true, they said, but it was true of Stinger missiles, which the Biden administration did provide. Two U.S. officials said, adding that the administration declassified the MiG information to bolster the argument not to provide them to Ukraine. And here's another one. Likewise, a charge that Russia had turned to China for potential military help lacked hard evidence. A European official and two U.S. officials said. The U.S. officials said there are no indications China is considering providing weapons to Russia. The Biden administration put that out as a warning to China not to do so, they said. The European officials described this disclosure as a public game to prevent any military support from China. Now, obviously, I don't want military support from China with Russia, but these are the kinds of games that they are playing. And some of it is pulling on the heartstrings of the American people, which could lead people to support or not support a war. And I, for one, want to stay the hell away from war as far as we can. But the article concludes this. It says, U.S. intelligence officials say it has been successful. Intelligence is rarely definitive, and Biden officials have calculated in some cases that it's better to preempt something that might not happen rather than to stay silent and watch it unfold. This is kind of illegal stuff, by the way, at least here to Americans. It doesn't have to be solid intelligence when we talk about it, a U.S. official said. It's more important to get out ahead of them. Putin specifically, before they do something, it's preventative. We don't always want to wait until intelligence is 100% certainty that they are going to do something. We want to get out ahead and stop it. The question that I have is, how often are they using such tactics here in the United States of America? What comes immediately to mind is the whole Russia collusion narrative, or the Hunter Biden stories, or all of this stuff that the mainstream media doesn't have to have so accurate information on, and that they run with as if it's fact. So much of this propaganda is hitting the United States of America, and here NBC News is openly finally talking about it. Either way, I wanted to bring all of this information to your attention and kind of just let you sit on the info and decide for yourself. But they do this on both sides. They're doing this with information with Russia. I'm sure lots of stories. It's not just one-sided. But anyhow, with that, I can't wait to hear your comments on that. And please don't forget to check out my partner at noblegoldinvestments.com. Now is the time to get a diversify your profile with even a gold IRA or a silver IRA, and Noble Gold Investments can help you do that today. Right now, they are giving away this 3 ounce silver coin. This thing is actually really thick here, and it's 3D, but there's only 1,500 that they're giving away. I know they're limited on that with any approved IRA or 401k, and they're doing that right now. But give them a call and let them know you want to diversify your profile, and let them know you heard it on Lisa Haven. Anyhow, thanks again for tuning in. I love all of you. I'm Lisa Haven signing out.